In my last video, I told you I was giving up on Wegovy and Zepbound and all the GLP-1 weight loss drugs, not because they don't work, they absolutely do, but my insurance just decided they're not paying for it anymore. And the out of pocket cost on these drugs is insane. So after several months of not being on those drugs and regaining all the weight, I just decided I'm going to lose it the old fashioned way. I've done it before. I can do it again. Now, if you're in the same boat I am and you've had the rug pulled out from under you by the insurance company, I know the biggest question that I have is how is my body going to respond now that I'm off of these drugs and just going cold turkey trying to do it by myself? Now, I've lost weight before. Unfortunately, I always find it. Maintaining it has always been my problem. But what I've been successful with in the past, as far as losing weight, has been keto type diets, like where I'm eating mostly protein and fat and not a lot of carbs and virtually no sugar. Before we go any further, I do need to say I'm not a doctor. None of this is medical advice. I'm just a random fat guy on the internet who's trying to lose weight at age 57 without taking any drugs. So to kick off my newest weight loss journey, I decided to do a little baseline experiment and started off with a 72-hour fast, 3 days, zero food. Now, some people wouldn't even call what I was doing a fast, but I had some pretty strict rules. No solid food, no sugar, no carbs, basically nothing of any nutritional value other than I did put a dash of heavy cream in my coffee every morning. So we're talking 10 to 15 calories tops. And the only other thing I had was like water and 0 calorie drinks like diet soda. Now, to see what was actually happening, I started wearing one of these continuous glucose monitors about a week before I started the fast. And to double check it, I got one of these Keto-Mojo monitors that will check glucose and ketones using your blood. Now, I expected some obvious things to happen, but what showed up on these monitors after 3 whole days without food completely surprised me. And I also had some pretty enlightening data from the week before the fast, which I'll get into as well. Now, when I first put the glucose monitor on before the fast, when I was just eating what I normally would eat, my glucose curve looked like a roller coaster, spikes, drops, constant volatility. I'd get spikes in the morning, spikes after I ate, which both of those are expected, but I'm talking big spikes that lasted a long time. And I think the thing that would surprise most people about that data from the week before the fast is that most of the meals that I ate were not nutritionally inappropriate. I only had one meal that whole week that was nutritionally bad. And that was when we went to a sporting event with friends and I ate stadium food. So that particular day, I ate nachos and a soft pretzel. And that was all I ate. So I expected the spike then. What I didn't expect is that spike lasted for 12 hours after that, which was really surprising to me. But even before that meal, I was still getting spikes. And it's probably just due to whatever I was normally eating. And the surprising thing is what I normally eat is probably not that different from what most people normally eat. Now, I do only eat one meal a day. I've done that for a long time, even before intermittent fasting was a thing. But as far as what I eat, it's pretty normal. A normal dinner for me is steak and a salad, or a hamburger maybe, or a chicken sandwich and broccoli, or maybe some chicken thighs and a salad, or something like that. It's never really carb heavy. If I have a sandwich, of course, I have a bun. My portion sizes are probably a little bit big because I do eat just one meal a day. But as far as the content of the food that I eat, it's nothing that would raise red flags for the average person. It's not like I'm surviving off fast food, beer, pizza, and Skittles, which is what I think most people think of when they think of a poor diet. But now let's look at what happened over the 72 hours. All those crazy spikes went away totally. My overall glucose baseline dropped into a really steady optimal range. From a pure blood sugar standpoint, taking away the food input for that 72 hours gave my organs a total break, and the continuous glucose monitor proved that. But here was what I found really surprising, because with flattened blood sugar levels and not having any food for 72 hours, you would assume that I was burning fat and pumping out massive levels of ketones, right? And that's where the Keto-Mojo test came in, because in terms of what they consider nutritional ketosis, there's a math equation to do between your blood glucose and your ketone level, but it basically tells you whether you're in nutritional ketosis or not. Luckily, the app on this thing does it for you. So 3 full days of eating nothing and drinking basically coffee, diet soda, and water. I did the finger prick, insert the strip, took the reading, and waited only to find out that I still was not in nutritional ketosis. After 72 hours, my blood ketones did get to zero point 0.6, but my blood glucose was in a normal range, but at 103. When you do the math on those, the GKI is 9.5, which basically put me just outside of the range of being considered in nutritional ketosis. So last night, after the 72 hours, I did prepare my first meal, and it was, by anyone who's doing ketos standards, healthy. I had a pan-seared tuna steak, a pan-seared steak, so surf and turf, and a salad. And that salad did not have any croutons or any kind of sugary dressing on it. Zero sugar, zero carbs, mainly protein. And I have not had anything to eat since last night, and it's about 12:30 today. So we're looking at about 18 hours since I've ate that meal. So I just did a test, and my blood glucose is at 107 and my ketone level is at zero point 0.1, giving me a GKI of 59.4, nowhere close to ketosis. So how is that possible? How can you starve your body of food for 3 whole days and carbohydrates for basically 4 days and still not be in clinical ketosis? That is a question that I really wanted an answer to. So I did some digging into the metabolic science because I really think that most people assume that they are in ketosis after just a couple days of not eating carbs, much less having fasted for a few days. And the problem with assuming that you're in a healthy state rather than testing and knowing you're in one is it makes those cheat meals much more likely to happen. Because if you think you've been eating in a healthy way and your body's been in a healthy fat burning state for several days, it makes it so much easier to do what I did the other night and go to the stadium and get the nachos and the pretzel. Because in your mind, you think, well, the next day I'll just eat healthy and I'll be right back in that fat burning state. Well, that might be true if you're metabolically healthy. If you're anything like me and you're not metabolically healthy or you're insulin resistant, it's probably not your reality. So, like I said, I did a little research and here's what I found out. Number one, glycogen and baseline insulin levels. When you stop taking a GLP-1 drug or stop eating, both of the things that I did, your liver still holds on to stored glycogen. Depending on what you ate before the fast, in my case, I had some carbs, it could take a day or two to drain those liver stores before your body ever even shifts into fat burning mode. And if baseline insulin levels stay even slightly elevated, then it acts like a lock on your fat cells, slowing down the rate that your liver generates ketones. The second thing is the cortisol response. Extended fasting is a stressor on the body. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I've used it to kick off diets before in the past very successfully. But what I wasn't aware of is your adrenal glands pump out cortisol, which signals your liver to perform something called gluconeogenesis. And to make a long word make sense, what that does is it creates glucose out of non-carbohydrate sources in your body. Now, that will keep your blood sugar stable and it'll give you a stable reading on your continuous glucose monitor, but it delays ketone production. And the third thing is metabolic adaptation. If your body isn't used to switching fuels efficiently, the cellular machinery to produce and burn ketones at scale takes time to switch on. It's not an instant flip of a light switch. Now, my fast was over last night, but my experiment is nowhere near over. The most critical part of what I did wasn't the fast, it was the food that I broke it with. If you break your fast with a giant plate of pasta or some sort of junk food, your glucose levels are going to spike through the roof. You'll put massive amounts of water weight back on and you'll feel terrible. Not to even mention what a large meal like that could do to your digestive system after not having eaten food for 72 hours. Now, I've done this several times before, so I knew my body could handle the larger portions that I ate, but I kept it zero carb, protein focused so that my glucose levels would stay flat. And as you can see by the data that I'm showing on the screen here, keeping my refeed clean kept my blood sugar stable without any massive surge. Now, let's be completely real about what this little experiment that I conducted on myself was and what it wasn't. A 72-hour fast is not a long-term weight loss strategy. You can't just fast 3 days out of every week to replace Wegovy or Zepbound. It's not sustainable, and it's probably not healthy long term. For me, it was just a diagnostic reset. It's a way to establish a clean baseline to see how my body manages glucose without medication and to start tracking those numbers on paper so that I have an idea of what the different things that I'm doing do to my glucose and how it affects me. We are at the very beginning of doing this the hard way with clean nutrition, consistent movement, and actual data. If you've recently come off of GLP-1s because of insurance or side effects, drop a comment below to let me know how your body responded to being off of them the first few months or even just first few weeks. And hit that subscribe button if you want to follow along and see how long it takes me to actually get into ketosis as I test more meals, track the data, and see what it really takes to take the weight off and keep it off for good. And if you want to see all my numbers, I'm going to share them all down in the video description. The weight that I'm losing, my BMI, everything that I can pull off the smart scale that I'm using. I'll share that as we go along through the series. Also, if you want to try a continuous glucose monitor or one of these Keto-Mojo monitors, I'll link them both in the description as well. Those are affiliate links. They do help me out at no extra cost to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, or about maybe 5 or 10 pounds from now.